The notification sound from Clara's phone cut through the silence of our empty house like a knife through butter. She'd left it charging on the kitchen counter again, rushing out for another emergency client meeting that would somehow stretch past midnight. I glanced at the screen from across the room, not really caring until I saw the name that made me freeze. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Ryan Blake, her colleague, the smooth-talking sales executive who'd been finding excuses to text my wife at 11:30 on a Friday night. Working late again, beautiful, can't stop thinking about this afternoon. I set down my beer and walked over to the phone, my engineering mind already calculating probabilities. Clara Martin, my wife of 3 years, had been working late 4 nights this week. She'd been taking longer showers, buying new lingerie she claimed was for me, but never seemed to wear around me, and had suddenly developed an interest in staying fit that coincided perfectly with Ryan's gym membership. The phone buzzed again, another message from Ryan. Hotel room 237 is waiting. I've got champagne. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. Instead, I felt this weird calm wash over me, like when you're debugging code and finally spot the error that's been driving you crazy for weeks. Everything suddenly made perfect sense. I took a screenshot, then deleted the messages from her phone. Clara always bragged about how she was too smart to get caught doing anything. She'd underestimated her husband's technical skills and overestimated her own cleverness. Walking to my home office, I opened my laptop and pulled up the family phone plan. Clara's location services were still shared with me, another oversight on her part. According to the GPS, her phone was currently at the Riverside Hotel downtown, the same hotel Ryan had mentioned. I laughed, actually laughed out loud in my empty house. Apparently, PR stands for panties removed, I muttered to myself, opening a beer and settling in to do some research. By the time Clara stumbled through the front door at 2 a.m, claiming her client dinner ran super late, I had already begun planning. She kissed my cheek with lips that tasted like champagne and someone else's mouth, then headed straight for the shower. "How was your evening, honey?" she called out, her voice echoing off the bathroom tiles. "Educational," I replied, deleting our wedding song from my Spotify playlist. "Very educational indeed." Mia Turner had never liked me, and the feeling was mutual. Clara's best friend since college was sharp-tongued, cynical, and had a talent for making backhanded comments disguised as jokes. But as I sat across from her at Murphy's bar 3 days after my discovery, I realized we finally had something in common. We both despised my wife. "You know, don't you?" Mia said, stirring her martini with one perfectly manicured finger. She'd agreed to meet me under the pretense of planning Clara's upcoming birthday surprise, but her smirk told me she knew exactly why I was really here. "Know what?" I kept my voice level, engineering calm. "About Clara and Ryan, about their little afternoon adventures, about how she's been lying to you for the past 6 months. Mia's eyes gleamed with something that wasn't quite friendship, but wasn't quite malice either. "She tells me everything, Ethan. Every sordid detail." I took a sip of my whiskey, letting the burn settle in my throat before responding. "And you never thought to mention this to me because Clara's my best friend. Was my best friend." Mia's expression hardened. "Until she decided to steal the promotion I'd been working toward for 2 years. Turns out sleeping with the sales director has its perks when it comes to internal recommendations. Now we were getting somewhere. Ryan recommended her for your promotion? Ryan convinced the partners that Clara's client relationship skills made her indispensable. Meanwhile, I've been doing the actual work while she's been doing Ryan." Mia finished her martini in one gulp. "So yes, Ethan, I know about their hotel meetings, their weekend business trips, and how she laughs about what a pushover you are. That last part stung, but I kept my expression neutral. What exactly does she say about me? That you're boring, predictable, that you worship her and would never suspect anything because you're too trusting and too stupid. Mia signaled the bartender for another drink. She calls you her safety net, someone who will always be there while she has her fun. I finished my whiskey, feeling that same strange calm from Friday night settling over me. Interesting. And what would you say if I told you I was planning to make Clara's life very, very complicated? Mia's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. I'd say it's about damn time someone did. And I'd ask how I can help. We spent the next hour planning. Mia had access to Clara's work calendar, knew her passwords, and had been collecting evidence of the affair without even realizing it. Photos from company events where Clara and Ryan were getting cozy. Screenshots of Clara's bragging texts about her amazing private life, with someone who actually knows how to satisfy a woman. Voice messages where Clara mocked her clueless husband and his pathetic attempts at romance. "There's a company party next Friday at the Riverside Hotel," Mia said, sliding a business card across the table. "Same hotel where they've been meeting. Clara's planning to leave early with Ryan for a private celebration of their latest client win." Perfect. I pocketed the card. I think it's time I started taking a more active interest in my wife's career. As we left the bar, Mia grabbed my arm. "Ethan, make it hurt. She's had this coming for years." I looked down at Clara's best friend, former best friend, and smiled. "Oh, Mia, you have no idea what I'm capable of when I stop being nice. Derek Hoffman had been my roommate in college and my best friend until he'd joined the police force and I'd gone into software development. Our paths had diverged, but when I called him Tuesday morning, he answered on the first ring like no time had passed at all. "Ethan Cole. Jesus, how long has it been?" "Too long. Listen, Derek, I need a favor, the kind that requires your particular skill set." Derek had left the police force 2 years ago to start his own private security company. He specialized in corporate investigations, background checks, and what he diplomatically called information gathering. When I explained my situation, he was quiet for a long moment. "You sure about this, man? Once you go down this road, there's no coming back." "I'm sure. Clara made her choice. Now I'm making mine." "All right. But we do this smart, and we do this legal. I'm not going to jail because your wife's a cheating bitch." We met that evening in my garage, which I'd converted into a workshop. Derek brought equipment, a GPS tracker no bigger than a quarter, a device that could clone phone signals, and a small camera that looked like a pen. "The GPS goes on her car," Derek explained, showing me how to attach it to the underside of Clara's BMW. "Completely legal since your name's on the registration. This little beauty will let you track every movement." The phone cloner was more complex. When she connects to Wi-Fi, this picks up her signal and creates a mirror. You'll see every text, every call, every app notification. Again, legal since you're on the same family plan and technically own the account. "What about the camera?" "For the hotel room. But Ethan, you can't use this if there's any expectation of privacy. However, if you happen to be in a public space where recording is legal..." Derek's smile was grim. "Well, that's different." Over the next 3 days, I became a different person. The trusting husband, who left early for work and came home to dinner on the table, was replaced by someone methodical, patient, and coldly calculating. I installed the GPS tracker during Clara's morning yoga class. The phone cloner went into our bedroom, hidden inside an old clock radio. I tested the camera pen during a practice run at Murphy's bar, getting clear audio and video of strangers' conversations. The information started flowing immediately. Clara's location data showed daily trips to the Riverside Hotel between 2 and 4 p.m. Her text messages showed a level of personal detail and emotional attachment to Ryan that she'd never shared with me. But the worst part was the group chat she had with Mia and 2 other friends, where she regularly mocked our marriage. "Ethan bought me flowers yesterday, So pathetic. Like roses are going to fix how boring he is in bed. At least you have Ryan to remind you what good connection feels like. True. God, the difference is incredible. Ryan actually makes me feel alive. When are you going to leave him? Why would I leave? Ethan pays the mortgage and worships me. I get stability and great connection. Best of both worlds. Reading those messages, I felt something fundamental shift inside me. The last remnants of the man who'd loved Clara Martin disappeared, replaced by someone who understood that mercy was a luxury I could no longer afford. Friday morning, Clara kissed me goodbye and told me she'd be late because of the company party. Don't wait up, honey. These things always run long. Have fun, I said, meaning it in ways she couldn't possibly understand. I hope you get everything you deserve. The Riverside Hotel's ballroom was exactly what I'd expected. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and enough corporate networking to make my skin crawl. I'd arrived an hour early, using my camera pen to scout locations and test audio quality. Derek was positioned at the bar, nursing a whiskey and watching the exits. Clara arrived at 8, stunning in a black dress I'd never seen before. Ryan appeared at her side within minutes, his hand finding the small of her back with practiced familiarity. They moved through the room like a couple, accepting congratulations on their successful partnership, with knowing smiles. I waited until they were comfortable, until Clara's guard was down, and she was laughing at something Ryan whispered in her ear. Then I made my move. Clara, you look beautiful tonight. She spun around, her face cycling through surprise, guilt, and finally settling on practiced innocence. Ethan, what are you doing here? Mia invited me, said I should see what my wife's work events are really like. I smiled pleasantly, noting how Ryan had stepped slightly behind Clara, like a guilty teenager caught by his girlfriend's father. That's wonderful, honey. Let me introduce you to some people. Actually, I was hoping to dance with my wife, if that's okay with you, Ryan? Ryan's jaw tightened. Up close, he was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive suit, perfect hair, the kind of artificial confidence that came from never facing real consequences. Of course, man. Clara's all yours. Yes, I said, taking Clara's hand and leading her to the dance floor. She certainly is. As we swayed to some generic jazz, I could feel Clara's tension. She kept glancing over my shoulder toward Ryan, who was watching us with barely concealed irritation. You seem nervous, I observed. I'm not nervous. I'm just surprised you're here. You usually hate these corporate things. I'm trying to take more interest in your work, your partnerships, your afternoon meetings. I spun her gently, watching her face pale. Speaking of which, how's the Riverside Hotel? I hear you spend a lot of time there. Clara missed a step. What? Room 237 specifically. I understand it has an excellent view. The color drained from her face completely. Ethan, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You've always been good with words. It's one of the things I loved about you. I dipped her low, bringing my mouth close to her ear. But I'm not interested in explanations anymore, Clara. I'm interested in justice. When I pulled her upright, her eyes were wide with panic. What do you want? I want you to look around this room, at all your colleagues, your friends, your professional network. I want you to really appreciate what you've built here. I smiled, and she flinched, because you're about to lose all of it. The song ended, and I stepped back with a polite nod. Thank you for the dance, darling. I think I'll go introduce myself to some of your coworkers now. I left her standing in the middle of the dance floor and walked directly to Ryan, who was trying to look casual while obviously eavesdropping. Ryan Blake. I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm Ethan Cole, Clara's husband. Ryan's handshake was firm, aggressive. Nice to meet you, man. Clara talks about you all the time. I'm sure she does, just like she talks about you. Room 237, champagne, how much better you are in bed than her boring husband. I kept my voice conversational, but loud enough for nearby conversations to pause. You know, typical pillow talk between adulterous coworkers. Ryan's face went white, then red. What the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about the affair you've been having with my wife for the past 6 months. The hotel meetings, the weekend trips, the promotion you helped her steal from Mia. I pulled out my phone, showing him screenshots of his own text messages. I'm talking about this message from last Friday. Can't wait to taste you again. Your husband has no idea how lucky he is. The conversations around us had stopped completely. I could see Clara pushing through the crowd, panic written across her face, but Derek smoothly intercepted her, engaging her in what looked like polite conversation while blocking her path to us. Ryan grabbed for my phone, but I pulled it back easily. I wouldn't do that, Ryan. Not in front of all these witnesses. Not when your wife Jennifer is probably wondering why you're working so many late nights. You son of a bitch. Actually, my mother's a saint. Unlike your mistress. I looked around at the circle of fascinated faces surrounding us. Did you all know that Ryan here has been using company resources to conduct an affair? Hotel rooms charged to the corporate account, business trips that were actually romantic getaways, client meetings that were really afternoon private sessions? Ryan lunged at me, but I stepped aside and Derek appeared instantly, his ex-cop presence enough to make Ryan think twice about throwing a punch. Easy there, Romeo, Derek said quietly. Lot of people watching, lot of phones recording. Probably not the time to add assault to your list of professional accomplishments. Clara finally broke free and reached us, her face a mask of desperation. Ethan, please. Let's talk about this privately. Privately? I laughed, and the sound was harsh enough to make her flinch. Like how you've been privately sleeping with your colleague for 6 months? Like how you've been privately mocking our marriage to your friends? Like how you've been privately planning to keep me around as your safety net while you have your fun? The crowd around us had grown larger. I could see phones being raised, cameras recording. Clara's boss, a stern woman named Patricia Wells, was pushing through the crowd with a look that suggested someone was about to have a very bad Monday morning. You're making a scene, Clara hissed. I'm making a point. There's a difference. I turned to address the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting your evening. I just thought you should know what kind of people you're working with, what kind of partnerships your company encourages. Patricia Wells reached us just as hotel security appeared at the edge of the crowd. Mr. Cole, I think it's time for you to leave. Of course. I've said what I came to say. I looked at Clara one last time, memorizing the devastation on her face. Enjoy the rest of your party, darling. I have a feeling it'll be your last one here. As Derek and I walked toward the exit, I could hear the explosion of whispered conversations behind us. Clara's voice, high and desperate, trying to do damage control. Ryan's angry denials falling on skeptical ears. In the elevator, Derek shook his head. Jesus, Ethan, you just nuked her entire professional life. That was just the opening act, I replied, checking my phone. The GPS tracker showed Clara's car was still in the hotel parking garage. The real show starts tomorrow. Clara didn't come home Friday night. According to the GPS tracker, her car stayed at the Riverside Hotel until 4 a.m., then went directly to Ryan's apartment across town. She was still there when I woke up Saturday morning. My phone had 17 missed calls from her and a series of increasingly frantic text messages. Ethan, please call me. We need to talk. I know you're angry, but this isn't the way to handle it. You've humiliated me in front of everyone I work with. Are you happy now? Please come home. I'll explain everything. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. Ethan, answer your phone. I deleted them all without responding and got to work. Derek arrived at noon with coffee and a grim smile. It's already on social media. Someone posted video of last night on Instagram. Chuck's corporate affair is trending locally. Good. What about the other thing? Ryan's wife, Jennifer, filed for divorce this morning. Apparently, she'd been suspicious for months, and your little performance gave her the courage to act. She's also demanding a forensic accounting of their shared assets, particularly any hotel or travel expenses. And Clara's job? Patricia Wells called an emergency meeting with HR for Monday morning. Word is, they're launching a formal investigation into misuse of company resources and violation of the workplace conduct policy. I felt that familiar calm settling over me. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. What's our next move? That depends how far you want to take this. We could stop here. Clara's career is probably over, Ryan's marriage is definitely over, and you've made your point. I looked at Derek's concerned face and realized he still didn't understand. They destroyed my life for 6 months, Derek. Made me a fool. A joke. Clara called me her safety net while she was sleeping with another man in hotel rooms paid for with money I helped earn. I get that, but no, you don't get it. If I stop now, they'll recover. Clara will find another job, Ryan will find another wife, and in 6 months they'll be laughing about the crazy husband who couldn't handle being cheated on. I stood up, pacing to the window that overlooked the street. I'm not stopping until they understand that actions have consequences. Real, permanent consequences. Derek was quiet for a moment. What do you need me to do? I need you to help me get into Ryan's apartment. Legally. With a witness. Why? Because Clara's there, and I want to serve her with divorce papers in person. I want to see her face when she realizes this isn't just about humiliation. This is about losing everything. Derek made some calls. It turned out Ryan's apartment building had a policy about domestic disputes. If a spouse requested access to retrieve personal property, building management would provide supervised entry. Since Clara had been using my credit cards to buy things she'd been keeping at Ryan's place, I had legitimate grounds for property recovery. We arrived at 3 p.m. with a building supervisor and a notary public Derek had hired. Clara's BMW was still in the parking lot, and the GPS tracker showed she hadn't left the building all day. Ryan answered the door in a bathrobe, his hair disheveled and his face showing the effects of too much alcohol and too little sleep. What the hell are you doing here? Retrieving my property and serving my wife with divorce papers. I pushed past him into the apartment, where Clara was sitting on the couch in one of my old college t-shirts, looking like a refugee from her own life. Ethan. Her voice was small, defeated. Please, can we talk about this? We're past talking, Clara. We're into the legal phase now. I handed her the divorce papers, professionally prepared and notarized. You have 30 days to respond. I suggest you get a good lawyer. She stared at the papers like they might burst into flames. You can't be serious. One mistake and you're just throwing away 3 years of marriage? One mistake? I laughed, and the sound made her flinch. Clara, I have 6 months of evidence. Hotel receipts, text messages, location data, photographs. You've been systematically lying to me while conducting an affair with a married man using money from our joint accounts. You've been spying on me? I've been protecting myself. There's a difference. I walked around the apartment, noting the expensive wine, the designer clothes Clara had charged to our credit cards, the framed photo of her and Ryan on the nightstand. Nice place, Ryan. I especially like how you've decorated it with things my wife bought using my money. Ryan stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. Get out of my apartment. I will, as soon as I collect what belongs to me. I started gathering Clara's purchases, jewelry, clothes, electronics, all charged to accounts with my name on them. Clara, you'll need to find somewhere else to stay. I'm changing the locks on our house tonight. You can't kick me out of my own home. Actually, I can. The house is in my name, bought with my down payment, and according to these divorce papers, you've forfeited any claim to marital assets through adultery. I smiled pleasantly. You should have read the prenup more carefully. Clara's face went white. We don't have a prenup. We do now. Retroactive, based on evidence of fraud and adultery. My lawyer assures me it's completely legal in cases of proven infidelity. I was lying, but Clara's panic was worth the deception. You might want to call a lawyer, a good one. As I loaded Clara's belongings into my car, I could hear her sobbing through the apartment's thin walls. Ryan was shouting at someone on the phone, probably his own lawyer. The building supervisor looked uncomfortable but stayed professional. This is really happening, Derek said quietly as we drove away. This is justice happening, I corrected. Clara made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Saw the Instagram video. Patricia Wells is furious. Monday's going to be brutal for Clara. I texted back, good. Make sure you're there to witness it. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Monday morning brought the kind of cold rain that seemed designed to match Clara's mood. I knew this because I was sitting in Murphy's bar across the street from her office building, watching through the window as she hurried inside 20 minutes late, her hair disheveled and her usually perfect makeup showing signs of a weekend spent crying. Mia had texted me updates throughout the morning. Patricia and HR arrived early. They looked serious. Clara just got called into the conference room. Ryan's already in there. Jennifer Blake just walked in with a lawyer. This is getting good. Clara's crying, Ryan's shouting. Patricia looks like she wants to murder them both. At 11:30, Mia sent a photo. Clara and Ryan walking out of the building carrying cardboard boxes, their faces grim. The caption read, "Terminated for cause, no severance, no references, justice served." I finished my whiskey and walked across the street, timing my arrival perfectly to intercept Clara as she loaded her pathetic box of personal items into her car. "Rough morning?" I asked conversationally. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes and a face full of hatred. "Are you happy now?" I lost my job. Ryan lost his job. We're both unemployable in this industry. "I'm getting there," I admitted, "but I think we need to have one final conversation, somewhere public, where there are witnesses." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then I'll have this conversation right here in the parking lot where all your former coworkers can hear." I gestured toward the office building, where several faces were pressed against windows, watching our interaction with obvious interest. "Your choice, Clara." She slammed her car door and stalked toward Murphy's bar. I followed, noting how she'd lost weight over the weekend, how her clothes hung loose, and her confident stride had been replaced by the shuffling gait of someone who'd been thoroughly defeated. The bar was crowded with the lunch crowd, mostly office workers from the surrounding buildings. Clara chose a corner booth, probably hoping for privacy, but I deliberately sat facing the room so our conversation would carry. "What do you want, Ethan?" "I want you to understand something. This isn't about revenge. This is about consequences." I signaled the bartender for 2 drinks, whiskey for me and white wine for her. Old habits. "For 6 months you made me a fool. You lied to my face, spent my money on your affair, and mocked our marriage to your friends." I made a mistake. "Stop." My voice was sharp enough to cut through her self-pity. "You made a choice. Every day for 6 months you chose to betray me. You chose to lie. You chose to treat our marriage like a joke while you slept with another man." Several conversations around us paused. Clara's face flushed red. "Keep your voice down." "Why? Embarrassed?" "Good. You should be." I leaned forward, lowering my voice just enough to make her strain to hear. "You called me your safety net. Said I was too stupid and trusting to ever figure it out." "Well, congratulations, Clara. You were wrong." "I never said you were stupid." I pulled out my phone and played a voice message she'd sent to Mia. "Ethan's so pathetic. He actually believes I'm working late. Sometimes I think he deserves what he gets for being such a pushover." Clara's face went white. Around us, I could see people turning to stare, phones being discreetly raised to record. "You recorded my private messages?" "I protected myself from a liar and a cheat. There's a difference." I took a sip of whiskey, savoring the burn. But here's what you really don't understand, Clara. This isn't about what you did to me. This is about who you are. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're the kind of person who destroys everything she touches. You betrayed your husband, helped destroy Ryan's marriage, stole a promotion from your best friend, and violated your company's trust. You're a cancer, Clara, and cancer needs to be cut out completely. She tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist easily. The bar had gone quiet around us, everyone watching the drama unfold. Don't, I said quietly, my grip firm enough to make her wince. You've done enough damage. I released her wrist and stood up, pulling out a manila envelope. Final divorce papers. Everything's been filed. The house is mine, the cars are mine, and the bank accounts are frozen pending investigation of fraudulent charges. You can't do this. I already did. My lawyer says you have grounds to contest, but that would require you to prove the affair never happened, in court, under oath, with evidence. I smiled. Good luck with that. Clara grabbed the envelope with shaking hands. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I don't know and I don't care. You should have thought about that before you decided to destroy our marriage. I dropped a 20 on the table to cover the drinks. But here's some free advice. Whatever you do next, do it somewhere else. This town knows what you are now. As I walked toward the door, Clara's voice followed me, high and desperate. I loved you. I made a mistake, but I loved you. I stopped and turned back, looking at her one final time. She was crying again, mascara running down her cheeks, surrounded by strangers who were recording her breakdown for social media posterity. No, Clara, you loved what I could give you. The house, the money, the stability, the safety net. I felt that familiar calm settle over me, the satisfaction of a job completed. You never loved me. But that's okay, because I don't love you anymore either. I walked out into the cold rain, leaving Clara Martin, soon to be Clara Martin again, sitting alone in a bar full of strangers who knew exactly what she was and what she'd done. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Ryan's wife cleaned out their joint accounts. He's broke and homeless. Karma's a bitch. I texted back, Justice is a bitch. Karma's just her prettier sister. 3 months later, I heard through Mia that Clara had moved back in with her parents in Ohio. Ryan was working at a used car lot in Florida, his career in sales permanently destroyed by the scandal. Neither of them had found new jobs in their chosen fields. I, meanwhile, had gotten a promotion at work, bought a new house, and started dating a wonderful woman who thought honesty was more important than excitement. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled things, if I think I went too far, if I ever consider forgiving Clara for what she did. The answer is simple. Clara Martin made her choice when she decided to betray our marriage. I simply made sure she lived with the consequences of that choice, forever. The last dance was over, and so was her future.